Question of the day. Do you avoid recognizing your thoughts, feelings, beliefs, or actions? So, do we deny them? Do we try not to see them? Do we keep ourselves so distracted that we don't look within? Are you ready to dig deeper? Grab your journal and journal with me. So, today we're talking about acceptance, being the observer, and third eye chakra. So, welcome to the Energy Healing Lifestyle Journal Self-Care Challenge Day 20. My name is Robin Knott, and I'm your host of Energy Healing TV and podcast on YouTube, Rumble, and Spotify, and the founder of the EnergyHealingSchool.com. I'm a certified Reiki Master Teacher and have a Master of Social Work degree specializing in mental health and addiction treatment. I'm here to teach fellow empathic healers various energy healing methods with a strong focus on self-care, self-worth, and self-love without feelings of blame, shame, and or guilt. Also, if you know someone who could benefit from self-care, please share this. So a big one, I think, is acceptance, right? Well, two big ones, really. Looking within, really looking at ourselves, being honest with ourselves. That one's big. And then accepting what we see. And I don't mean, sorry, it was just kind of weird. My curtain. I don't think you could see that. Anyway, I don't mean accepting in the sense of I'm going to accept it as it is to keep it the way it is. Maybe there might be some things that we absolutely love and we accept and we want to continue to repeat, right? But we may find sometimes when we look at within that we see things we don't necessarily like and things about ourselves, characteristics or aspects or patterns of behavior that maybe we don't really like and don't want to keep, right? So, what I want to focus on is the idea or the concept of acceptance of just seeing something as it is in that moment without resistance. Because resistance in itself makes it difficult to then change. So, if I see something that I don't like, that I just want to be different, there's less chance for me to make those changes if I get stuck and caught up in the resistance of it. And how I get stuck and caught up in the resistance of it is by not having acceptance for what it is in that moment, right? Oh, hey, Rebecca, girl. Rebecca says, hello, beautiful lady. Hey, love, how are you? It's been a while since you've been able to hop on my lives. Thanks for popping on. I don't know how much you heard. So I was just talking about, so my acronym for today for self-care, the letter A. Initially, so here's my transparency. Initially, I was using the word alignment. However, because it was fitting there for a while, but I use alignment daily, right? Because I use the 3 steps of being aware, assessing our energy, and then getting into alignment with the source of unconditional love. And that's every single day. So what came back into my awareness as I was kind of sitting with that was acceptance. So bringing acceptance back in to the as we assess our energy for the third eye chakra in being in that observer mode. And I think those really meld very well too, because as we observe, we're trying to observe just to be able to see what is as a step, right? Not a completion, but as a step, as a process. And again, if I'm stuck in resistance or if I come in with judgment, I come in with criticism, then I get wrapped up in the resistance or I just avoid. So my question of the day was, do you avoid recognizing your thoughts, feelings, or actions? Because, right, sometimes it's hard to look at ourselves and see what our patterns are, whether it's our thought pattern or a behavior or getting stuck in those cycles of certain feelings. Rebecca says, hey, love, I know I never have time, but I'm happy to have a moment. Fantastic. Appreciate it. And you shared it with me. That's awesome. So if you have time to chat for a moment, how do you feel about acceptance? What is acceptance like for you? I did pull up, if you don't mind, I'll read this real quick. This website is berkeleywellbeing.com. So I Googled acceptance because sometimes I like when I introduce something new just to share something, right? From another source. And the ones I didn't like, obviously, were things like just the definition, because in the definition, it talks about kind of receiving it, accepting and receiving. And I see those to be two different things. It can be the same if we choose it to be or if we allow it to be, but it doesn't have to be. And I really like the idea to remind ourselves that we have the choice to change what we want to change and to, again, empower us to do so, right? Without that judgment of blame, shame, and guilt. Rebecca says acceptance is important because we can't change anything we refuse to see for what it truly is. Exactly. Thank you. Exactly what I was saying. However, oftentimes, like for me, at least in the past, I know that I used to assume acceptance meant that I had to continue receiving whatever it was, right? That I had to, this is a blue pen, truth, right? I have to accept that this particular pen, using my pen examples again, I have to accept. Well, I don't have to, but it's easier for me if I just accept that this pen is blue. However, I do not have to accept it in the aspect of if I don't like the blue pen, I don't have to use the blue pen, right? So I accept it that it's blue, but then I get to choose what I do with it after that. And that's the part of acceptance I really want to bring in more of. Rebecca says, it is also important when building boundaries, thank you, with others. When people show us what they are, we have to believe them. That's a really great point too, right? Because how many times do we go through like we see these red flags and we're like, no, no, that it's just, and we justify it or we minimize it or we make excuses for it because we don't want to see it for what it is. And people tell us sometimes too, right? And we're like, no, you're not. You don't do that. Yeah, believe them. I'm laughing to lighten the energy, but yeah, sometimes it's pretty rough. Rebecca says you have to accept that the pen is blue, but you do not have to keep buying blue pens. Exactly. Right. So that's what I didn't care for the way some of the definitions, just Googled it, but some of the definitions, because it kind of led that way, or at least sounded that way, that acceptance meant just that. I had to accept that this pen is blue and keep using it. Like, no, don't have to keep using it because we have a choice in every moment, right? So thank you. So on this website, berkeleywellbeing.com, it talks about psychological acceptance. And I do know, like in college and when I was providing therapy, we talked about radical acceptance, which is actually just that, just accepting what is as it is. But again, just pulling in the acceptance in general to offer it in the same way. So what they call psychological acceptance generally refers more specifically to our present moment experience of thoughts and feelings. We might accept our anger, guilt, frustration, sadness, anxiety, shame, or other negative emotions. We might also accept the thoughts that contribute to these emotions. Very big too. For example, if we feel like we performed poorly at a task, those thoughts might contribute to anxiety or self-hatred. But if we accepted the thoughts, those emotions would ease. Also, just seeing it for what it is, right? So, not adding our judgment to it. So, again, seeing it, this is a blue pen and it's just a blue pen, and I don't have to add the opinion of if I like the blue pen or if I don't like the blue pen. I can just look at it and accept that it is a blue pen in that moment. So if I didn't do well on a test, just looking at I did not do well on that test, it doesn't mean I'm a failure and I'm not good enough and I'm unworthy. It just means I didn't do well on the test, and then I can think of things that could help me the next time. Can I study more? Is it the way that I studied? Maybe I can study in a different way. Maybe I can buddy up with somebody, partner with someone, that kind of thing. Kind of problem solve that out. But if I'm not willing to just accept I didn't do well on the test, then I'm probably not going to find a resolution because I'll be stuck in the resistance and the judgment and the criticism of beating myself up. Also says acceptance does not mean that we let people treat us poorly or take advantage of us. Exactly. It just means that we don't get stuck in the thoughts and emotions surrounding our experiences. That resistance part, right? So rather than accepting that we're being treated poorly, we might accept and therefore be able to or let go of feeling angry or sad about being treated poorly. We allow these emotions to exist and don't just ourselves for them. And wait, that didn't make sense again. We allow these emotions to exist and don't just, not sure what they were trying to say there. So the distinction between accepting circumstances and emotions is an important one that we will discuss further below as we can. Well, I'm not going to read further. But again, I think we're making the point pretty clear with what we have. Let me see where you left off, Rebecca. I think I read that one. Yeah, okay. I don't know why it looked like you said something else. I didn't want to not read it. So yeah, I think it's just important to be able to observe, which we talk about, right, with the third eye chakra. It's all about inner awareness, having our intuition. That too, trusting comes along with the intuition part. So accepting that we have the intuition, accepting when we have that gut feeling of what it is, kind of like what you were saying, Rebecca, about when people tell us who they are to believe them, right? Same with our intuition. When we have that intuition and we have that gut feeling, we have that knowing, that feeling, hearing what we hear, whatever it may be, whatever your clear is, when it comes in, to trust it and accept it as it is, right? Instead of resisting it or trying to justify it or dismiss it or just not having that trust in ourselves to understand what we're receiving. Rebecca says, I've been having to do a lot of acceptance lately. Have you? Not always easy, right? Rebecca says, oh, yes, always listen to your intuition, always 1,000,000%. And I don't like to use the word guilty, but I'm guilty of not always listening, of having those moments of doubt, or not understanding fully or trying to overthink it but yeah, falls in line with some of the red flags, right? Sometimes red flags are the gut feeling. Sometimes red flags are the intuition. Hmm. Yeah, that. So what about when we look at ourselves? How challenging can it be to see our own aspects of self, our own belief systems, especially like through what we call an awakening process, right? A spiritual awakening. So I know for me, different phases, different awakenings, if you will, when I had to really look at myself and I had to completely, like, my perspective and beliefs just did a flip, right? And when they did a flip, there was a whole lot of oh no moments coming along because then I could see where my belief system was, which initiated my thoughts and my patterns and how I acted and reacted to situations and what I supported. And then when all that completely did a, 180, then there was this like guilt and blame and shame that was coming in. Like, how could you? Seeing it with a different lens, with a different perspective, it's like, how could you support and promote, certain things that are harmful because you were blinded to seeing it harmful before? Makes you wonder how you miss it, but you did. But watching, that's not an acceptance of that. That's more of the resisting, right? That's coming in with the criticism and the judgment. So again, this is twofold because I want to bring it up just so for any of those who are going through spiritual awakenings, and if you're finding yourself in that same situation and you are showing up as the judger and the critic, that you try to take a deep breath and try to see what you're seeing. Don't avoid it, right? Don't deny yourself from seeing it, but try to stay in that observer mode, right? We talk about third eye chakra being the observer mode, being able to observe the human, our human life experience, being able to observe our thoughts and our emotions and our actions and our reactions and our patterns and all the things from just that. just from being able to see it. And that's part of that acceptance. Again, I feel they go hand in hand because if I'm in observer mode, I can see it for what it is without getting sucked down into blame, shame, guilt, criticism, judgment, and all the icky stuff that goes along with it, right? Again, acceptance isn't like blowing it off to say, oh, yeah, that was messed up. Oh, well, big deal. We're not dismissing it either, but we're allowing ourselves that ability to change, right? The energy flows up and down and all around. So remember, when we're in that heart chakra, we're meeting ourselves, well, solar plexus in love and compassion and in the heart, allowing that forgiveness to occur. So as we're having that acceptance, we're allowing forgiveness to occur, and we can make a choice, a different choice to continue forward, right? That's part of allowing the forgiveness to occur, is making the actual changes to breaking those patterns and breaking those cycles, whatever they may be. Rebecca says, oh, yes, always listen to your, oh, I see, I read that already. Sorry about that. Rebecca says, we accept it so we can make wise decisions in the future. Exactly. Thank you. Absolutely. So that was like the big one for today. And it's, sometimes it's easier to talk about than it is to actually do. But every Saturday we can talk about it and check in, right? Support each other through the process when we have those situations. I'm checking my journal to see if I covered everything for today. Mm, I think that's just part of the process too of allowing ourselves to expand, right? To be able to observe and then accept things as they are. Just to be able to see it as it is, to continue expanding and continue flowing and to continue growing and continue healing. Because again, as soon as we hit that space of resistance where we kind of refuse to accept, and I get it, like I get there's things we don't want to accept because they're harsh. So we do have that resistance. But finding that other way, we don't want to just stay in that space though, right? Like get what you need from it, but then allow yourself to shift beyond that space. And to allow yourself to shift beyond that space is where acceptance comes in. It's just see acceptance as taking that resistance away. Just like forgiveness is the release of resentment and anger, right? Acceptance is the release of resistance. I think those came across pretty well. So for homework for this week, because remember we want to continue to be aware, self-aware, assess our energy to see if it's in alignment with the source of unconditional love. And if it's not, what's an action step we can take to get into alignment? And remember, sometimes the action step is just sitting with yourself, just holding space for yourself, just showing up for you, right? Just allowing yourself to feel it, to heal it, allowing yourself to have time and space. That's it. It doesn't have to be big moves and jumps and leaps and bounds. We don't have to rush to um, we don't have to rush to anything, because I don't want to say like you just dismiss it and you just toss it and you just, want to quickly move through to get to the next layer. But an action step would be just to allow that space for yourself, because when we try to go too quickly, we end up coming back around anyways, right? We didn't do what we needed to do with it, so it comes back around. So if you allow yourself that space to feel, to process, to show up and give yourself some love, then you have a better opportunity to then release it and move forward. So then the homework, of course, is to check in with yourself and journal on your awareness, whatever comes up in your awareness. See if there's been any areas of resistance. If you've had any resistance to accepting a situation or your own belief system or a habit maybe that you have. Again, assess it, assess your energy to see if it's in alignment with the source of unconditional love, and then make a choice of whatever your step may be to get into closer to alignment, right? And as always, if you haven't already, sign up for the Empathic Healers Masterclass. It's a step-by-step guide to set boundaries and protect your energy. And then meet me back here tomorrow to talk about receiving an unconditional love in the crown chakra energy. Rebecca, thank you again for hopping on and spending this time with me. Thank you all who hop on to share your time and space as well on the live or on the replay. If you're comfortable, you can drop it in the comments and let me know what comes up for you. And I shall see you tomorrow. Rebecca says, love you big. Love you too, girl. Have a wonderful evening, and I will see you tomorrow. So much love. Bye, guys.